tells who you are, and the question that is asked of everybody is, what do you think are the most important solutions at the state level to address sea level rise and flooding?
My name is Ross Hancock. I am a climate refugee, and maybe someday I'll get a chance to tell you my personal story and why I say that. It's great to see so many people come out on this topic. First time I ran for office, I ran for city council in a suburban town in Florida, and I ran on the issue of climate change. And it was a wackadoodle idea at that time, and I wish it had stayed a wackadoodle idea. It wasn't that long ago we never would have gotten a crowd like this. It was only 5 years ago that the idea of climate change was exotic and strange. And look at where we are now. So thank you for coming out. You all represent a good movement in Florida. I'm running for State District 105. It's the parts of Florida that are south of Alligator Alley that touch the Everglades. So it's all the way to southwest Broward on the other side of Alligator Alley, West Dade, and East Naples, Golden Gate area. So the communities that just ring around the Everglades, and the entire Everglades is my district. The question, the big question, 30 seconds. The state of Florida is going to be handling all the big issues regarding massive expenses and channeling of funds, your money, to mediate climate change in the future. That's what we will be doing on the state level. The big question that needs to be dealt with, that is not being dealt with, are questions of equity. There will be winners and losers as we fight to survive as a state. Will we only protect the rich? Will we only protect corporations? What industries will we only protect? Agriculture at the cost of tourism? These choices and policies are some of the biggest questions, bigger than the engineering and science questions. The idea of equity and fairness and economic justice to Florida, and these questions need to be asked because climate change is coming, but we need to be fair.
Okay.
My time is up.
Your time's up. Thank you very much. No. So your district, does it go as far north as Lake or just up to Alligator Alley?
Only up to Alligator Alley.
All right.
It's a big cypress and all that stuff.
Your area is pretty well inland. So then how do you think that climate change and sea level rise is going to impact that region? That's
an excellent question. Everything's being done right now on climate change that we read about in Florida that are so good when we're doing things. We read about Miami Beach is doing this, and downtown Miami is doing this, and we're doing things over here in Naples down the coast, and we're expanding our beaches because everybody thinks that the sea level is coming from the sea. But you know, the first communities that are going to be affected are the communities in my district, because the low-lying levels, the real sea level rise has an open gate to come in through the 10,000 islands, through Florida Bay, and those low levels. And my community, my working people community, will be affected first. They will lose their home values first. They will have to migrate out first. And nothing is being done to protect the working people, the simple people. We're all spending it on the coasts. So it's a very, very important. Look at where you are, look at your elevation, and then look south, because the water's coming from there, not from the sea. The coastal areas are actually on high ground.
So I'm going to ask you the question that I addressed to everybody right out of the gate. According to Flood IQ data, in 2032, sea level rise plus a hurricane category 3 would cause flooding-related damage in 1,703,466 homes in Florida. What can the state do now to protect those areas?
Those areas, because we know now from science, we have a figure and we know exactly how many people, well, we know with real numbers, how many people are going to be affected, how much property is affected, and how many homes are affected, how many lives are affected. Now that we know that, we can now say, we'll multiply that together, and guess what? There's not enough money in the world to fix it, I'm sorry. So what the state needs to be doing is we need to be looking at what is Plan B? How can we help us who have our retirement in our homes? How can we help people that have everything in their homes transition to whatever comes next when they lose their property insurance, when they lose the ability for buyers to get mortgages, and when we start losing our tax base, we lose our services. We lose police, we lose healthcare, we lose schools. This is the reality of it. I'm sorry about that. My time's up.
That was really, there's nothing at all that can be done.
No, there's a lot that be done. What we need to do is, I'm only a state representative. That you have county commissioners. These are people who are executives that do things, right? A state representative just represents. So I'm not running for cabinet. I'm not going to be a governor. I want to take your issues and your interests and take them to Tallahassee. And these are the problems. Get us the experts. Engineers. I met an engineer over there from space. There's other people here that have great backgrounds in this stuff. I'm representing you. I'm representing your interest as a representative. I'm not the person that is going to pump the water out, because I don't know where that water is going to go. Where is it supposed to go?
So you're saying that as the representative for your district, you would be the person that would want to go to the state and then commission the studies and start looking for the solution?
Yes, we need to commission studies, and we need to commission studies that aren't just, what are we going to do to help downtown businesses? What are we going to do to help the sugar farmers? What are we going to do to help people that have beaches? What are we going to do to help the big hotels? I'm going to be the person there saying, in every time anybody looks at spend, because you know what, who's going to pay for this? You're going to pay for it. In the meantime, our property values are going to go through the floor. Where's our future? They're going to bleed us dry trying to fix this thing. I'd love to have a minute to talk about something about that. Can I ask myself a question?
Unless Javier objects to that, then I feel like go ahead.
No, I'll answer this for Javier. This is what Javier would say, because he's a great candidate. He's a good person. I've been going to forums on other topics. And this is the first time in my political career that not only was sea level rise and climate change not a wackadoodle idea, but the party of science denial, which I'm not going to name, candidates from that party that have been saying, nah, are universally accepting the reality, thank heavens, and the need to do things about it. I suspect part of that is political. Part of that is just because it's reality. I wish they had done something. We recognized it 5 years ago. We could have done something. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people now see that there's a huge amount of money in climate change remediation. This will be the big thing we do in Florida now. We won't grow oranges anymore. We're just going to pump water and build stuff and make the roads higher, and get the beaches by. We're going to do all that stuff. Somebody's going to make a bunch of money.
So we have a question from the audience that says, tell us your views on campaign finance reform, and how could campaign finance reform impact the state of our waterways in Southwest Florida? Good question.
Our campaigns it doesn't matter what party your representatives and your congresspeople are and your candidates are, they are financed by special interest in Florida, and sometimes they don't directly take them, but the money goes through a PAC, then it goes to another PAC, and then it goes to their party, and then it goes into their campaign, and they are beholden to primarily an industry in Florida that's just really damaging all of us. In fact, we shouldn't even eat sugar, right? Right. So why is the government paying them, subsidizing them to grow it, and then why are they allowed to destroy our water? Why does this happen? Well, because they basically own the political system and the utilities to some extent, and the energy companies to some extent too. So the fact that people are here and we're now concerned about our homes is a good sign, because we need to have a movement about our homes.
There was a question that came in the previous round that kind of had a bit of a statewide bent to it. So I'm going to go ahead and ask those of you. Would you support a statewide ban on fracking and other advanced well stimulation techniques?
Yes, and I would also support a statewide ban on all drilling of any kind, onshore or offshore, for oil. I would also support a ban on what they're doing now. They want to inject human waste into the aquifer because they can't figure out what else to do with it. I would totally support, I don't think we want, is anybody here for that? Your state legislature is for that. And I would also support a ban on rock mining industry, which plays a big role also in hurting our publicly held water resources. We have, it's all over the state. It's very destructive, and we don't need to, the impact on water is devastating of rock mining, phosphate mining, and phosphate, and also for concrete and other purpose aggregate mining, things like that.
How would you handle that at the state level then when it comes to land usage rights?
Well, I think that we are now in a state of trying, has I made it clear that we have a crisis? I mean, there's a crisis. It's similar to Pearl Harbor has been attacked. It's on a level in which we're all going to have to respond. And so we have to respond on an emergency basis, and we have to do what is necessary to protect the lives of our children, of ourselves, and we had to get really more serious because a lot of the property rights that we're respecting are the rights to destroy our property, which is Florida's water that belongs to all of us. And if they weren't doing that with their property, then they could have their rights. But they have no right to take away the last of the water that we have in Florida. I've lived here for 60-something years. The state is beautiful. It's always been great. Used to be able to eat oysters and stuff. You know, we've got to get that back. They took it from us.
So, would you support legislation to dedicate the largest share of Amendment 1 funds to Florida's land conservation programs?
No. Because we have a constitutional amendment that says it quite clearly what's supposed to be done, and no legislation is necessary. It's in the Constitution of the state of Florida. You voted for it.
Right. All right. Final question?
Oh, that is not the final question.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that you're at your final
I'm
question.
at final question.
Okay.
Put you on warning. Anything you want to cram into this answer?
Really, you guys are the best.
As sea level rise and coastal Floridians are displaced from their homes, there's a potential for large numbers of climate refugees to migrate to different areas of the state. How do you propose the state prepare for this potential shift in population? And is it even a good idea? Because as you mentioned earlier, going inland doesn't get you away from the sea level rise.
Yes, going inland to some places does. There are high places in Florida. I just bought some acreage in Suwannee County because it has spring water. I can get water there. It's high. Yeah, there's a lot of great places in Florida that are not settled yet, that are very high. They'll be fine for 1,000 years. So we need to look at that. But I think what we need to do is some kind of. This is going to be. I think we need to look at things that are like this. I'm not saying it because I don't know. But the things like, how do we make it easy if people in Golden Gate are so flooded in their houses, they know they can't get anybody to buy their houses because it's come to that. How can they be transitioned maybe to move as either a community or whatever to new places like people have had to do in the history of America? You know, maybe we could have a way to do that. It's an exploration. There needs to be a lot of forums on this. It's very controversial. It's not easy as a politician to be so Mr. Negative about climate as I have been here, but it needs to be, these things need to be said. And yes, people will be leaving Florida, and we ought to help that happen with a sense of social justice and a sense of benefiting all of us.